I've been tagged. Yes, hello, welcome to my channel. Yes, notice anything different? If you're one of my regular subscribers or you watch my videos on a regular basis, you'll notice that, you know, got a wider angle. Why is that? Because I got a new webcam. Yes, my old webcam was getting a bit glitchy, so I've been out and bought a new one. Bit of a false start. I bought one webcam and I couldn't get it to work properly because the software was a load of crap. And so I've gone for another Logitech. It's a C920 and it's got all the features on it that I could want. It's got stereo microphones. It's got autofocus, so I can do macro at long last. And it's in 1080p, so hopefully you can see me in crystal clear resolution. But anyway, that's not the reason for this video. Isn't to test my new webcam. It's to do this tag challenge that's going around, doing the rounds at the moment. Created by somebody on Facebook, I believe, on the TFYTC, and he came up with this list of 15 questions. And you do a video, you answer the questions, and then you tag somebody else to say, you know, oh, you have a go at this. And you know, I've seen quite a few videos that have been done by other YouTubers. I mean, Smizno Dave has done one, Bisto Yeti, Chris and Natalie, All in a Blur, and Six Shot, and Hotrodney Prime. And Hotrodney is the guy who tagged me to do this video. So thank you very much for that. But no, honestly, no, I'm quite flattered that he should choose me to do it. Now, I like to think that I've got some pretty specific answers for some of these questions. There are some of them I'm going to sort of struggle with a bit, but anyway, let's get into it. So, yeah, it's still playing, isn't it? Right, so obviously there's 15 questions in total, so let's make a start. Question number 1, what is your favourite Transformer toy in your collection? Now, I would have to say it's this guy. Transformers Age of Extinction Deluxe Dinobot Scorn. Now, before you ask, yes, I have got the Voyager from the last night, but I don't think he's as good as this guy, because this guy has got, you know, all the articulation you could want on the head. You can get him into some ridiculous poses. The robot mode hasn't got so much of that, you know, sort of dino kibble hanging off it. And I would say that this figure, this very toy, is the one that prompted me to actually become a Transformers collector. I was sort of on the fence. I've been watching YouTube reviewers and I kind of fancied getting into it, but it was when the Age of Extinction movie came out and I found out there was Dinobots in it, and then I saw the pre-production pictures for this guy, and I saw it and I've got to get one. And I like Spinosauruses. It's one of my favourite dino species, and Scorn, Deluxe Scorn, is absolutely amazing. So he is, I would say, my most favourite TF in my collection. So that's question number 1. Question number 2. What is your most expensive Transformer? Now, as I do these fastidious lists of my collection, I can actually answer this question and the next one very easily. Right. Most expensive toy that I own, he's in there, Masterpiece MP36 Megatron, who I paid the princely sum of £196.57. So he is the most expensive toy I've paid, you know, a singular amount for. But on Smizno's Dave video, he said it was TFC Hercules that he said he paid 250 quid for. That is a combiner. Now, I think obviously he paid a single amount for the one combiner. But if you're talking of third-party combiners, I've got a couple of third-party combiners, which if you add up the parts, the sum of the parts, because I bought the figures individually to make them up. But I've got the Toy World Dinobot combiner, which I paid £400.25 for. So that is probably, if you're counting combiners, then that is the most expensive figure that I've got, even though I bought the figures individually. But a singular bot that I paid the most for, MP36, 196 quid. So that's that question. Now, moving on to the next one. How many Transformers do you own? Again, because of my list keeping, I can answer this one precisely. I currently have 824 bots at the time of this recording, which is Wednesday the 21st of March 2018. I currently have 824 bots in my collection, but I do also have a further 71 bots that are separate to my collection in some plastic crates up in the loft. They are leftovers from the Tom Henson bot lot that I bought a couple of years ago, where I spent 850 quid and bought like 200 odd bots off this collector who was selling up. So if you add those together, in total number of bots in my possession at this moment in time is 895. Right? Okay. What is the worst Transformer you own? Right. Now, there are probably other bots in my collection, because obviously when you've got like 800 odd bots in your collection, it's difficult to remember everything you've got. But when I think of bad bots, the one bot that comes to mind is this guy. This is Transformers Universe, I think Legion Class Onslaught. Now, I bought this guy from a car boot sale along with this guy. Now, this is Red Alert. Now, these guys both came out in the same toy wave in 2005. Now, this guy is basically a scaled down version of the Cybertron Hotshot mold, and it's a great little figure. It's fantastic. It's got fun transformation. Obviously, being a Legion class, it's not the most articulated thing. He's only got ball jointed hips. He's got some joints on his ball jointed shoulder. So it's got a reasonable amount of movement, but he's a decent little bot. However, this thing, now, people often say, you know, G1 Transformers are bricks, right? They've got one purpose in life: to transform from a vehicle into a robot. Hardly any articulation, you know, very clunky transformations. This thing makes, you know, G1 Transformers look positively, you know, brilliant, flush, you know, fully articulated, because it is so basic. I mean, the transformation, all you do is you just flip up the feet, separate the legs, then you tilt this thing up, and there you go. He's in robot mode. And it's a sea of grey plastic. I mean, the wheels are all moulded on. It's got some little caster wheels underneath to roll along, but it is so bad, and it's so blocky that, you know, when you're trying to do any articulation on it, it's just got clearance issues, and it is such a piece of junk. Luckily, I only paid about 50 pence for it, but it wasn't until I got home and started playing with it I realised, oh, what have I bought? You know, buyer's regret. And I really, really dislike this thing, but I haven't got rid of it. I've still got it in my collection. But, you know, when you put it next to the other Universe Onslaught, there's no contest. So, yeah. So I would have to say, worst bot in my collection, Universe Legion Class Onslaught. Piece of crap. Right, let's move along. What is the best stroke worst place to find Transformers? Now, I think they're referring to, you know, where do you buy Transformers locally? Now, this question, obviously, I think the best place, no, the best shops I go to buy Transformers, I would have to say currently is Smith's. Because you go to Smith's, they've got the Power of the Primes Wave 1 figures in stock on the shelf. Admittedly, they've only got the Deluxes and Voyagers. I haven't seen any Leaders in there as yet. They don't do the Legion or Legend class figures for some reason. They always seem to crop up in the supermarkets. But yeah, I would say Smith's is the best. But when we're talking about best places to buy Transformers, I think I'm going to elaborate a little bit and say, right, online, when I'm buying from online retailer, I would say at the moment, Kapow. I've been buying a bunch of stuff from Kapow lately, and Kapow's pretty good. Also, I'm doing quite well with TFS Express as well. So those two retailers I'm you know, doing a lot of business with lately. And eBay, I buy quite a lot of stuff off eBay, and there's one guy on eBay who I go to for my third party fix. and his name's Netclow, Netclow, and he has a huge selection of both official and third-party stuff, and his prices are reasonably good. You know, his shipping's cheap, and you know he sends stuff out pretty quick. And I've bought a bundle of stuff off him, so he's a really good guy to go to. And he has a wide selection of, you know, maybe some slightly older third-party figures. You know, he's a good guy to try out, so you know, check him out. Now, as for worst, obviously I've watched, you know, other people's videos, and Gary Churm said about Toys R Us, and obviously it's a very hot topic at the moment because Toys R Us is closing down. I have to say I'm with Gary on this one. The Toys R Us in my area, absolute rubbish. Amount of times I've been there in the last 12 months to buy toys, and it's been, you know, there's been nothing there worth buying. Full retail prices, no discounts. No, they haven't got the latest, you know, toys in stock. It's always like, you know, shelves and shelves of shelf warmers of, you know, Wave 1 figures. It was just, that was just my personal experience with the Toys R Us which I went to, which is at the Cross Point Retail Park, or was at the Cross Point Retail Park in Coventry. So yeah, I would say at retail, Toys R Us, I've not really had much luck with Toys R Us. But another place, and again, Mr. Hotrodney, another thing or a place where I go to, well, have bought Transformers in the past, not so much now, is car boot sales. Now, Mr. Gary Churm, as we know, he's got the look of the Irish when it comes to finding Transformers in charity shops and at car boot sales, because he always seems to find the most amazing things at car boot sales. Me, on the other hand, my local car boot sales, whenever I go there, if I see anything at all that's Transformers related, it's usually broken or busted, it's got bits missing, or it's like, you know, just a movie Optimus or a movie Bumblebee. You know, it's the same old crap. You very rarely see anything decent worth buying. I'm not saying I haven't bought stuff at, you know, decent stuff at car boot sales, but it's so few and far between. I don't do very well at car boot sales. That's part of the reason why I don't do it so much these days. But anyway, so worst, I have to say Toys R Us and car boot sales. But I'm not disrespecting Toys R Us in any way, because it's very sad that yet another mainstream UK retailer is going to the wall. It's happened so many times, and you don't want all these shop workers to lose their jobs because, you know, this company's closing down. It's really sad, and I'm gonna miss Toys R Us, even though personally I've not had much luck when shopping at that particular store. But anyway, moving along, let's get through these. What Transformer figure do I want the most? Now, this is one I've got to think about. I haven't really thought about this. I would say one figure I'm searching for at the moment, but I refuse to pay the scalpers prices for it, is Takara Legends Stinger from the Age of Extinction movie, where they took the Bumblebee mode and they repainted it up as Stinger, you know, the concept Camaro. I want one of those because I want a version of the Bumblebee, the Age of Extinction Bumblebee mold, but I don't want the Bumblebee version. I want the Stinger version. And the prices this thing goes for, it's like 70, 80 quid. And there's one guy on eBay at the moment I think he's in America. He's asking like, was it America? He's asking 150 quid for one. A deluxe figure for 150 quid? Are you kidding me? So yeah, I'm really trying to get hold of one of those, but unfortunately it's out of my price range at the moment. And yeah, I could buy a knockoff, so we'll get to that question eventually. There are plenty of knockoff versions going about, but you know, when it comes to certain figures, I'd rather have the official. But anyway, moving along. So yeah, that's a figure that I've been trying to get hold of for quite a while now, but without much success. Right. What figure do you want to see made now? Now, I've thought about this one. There's a number of figures or characters which do not have toy forms as yet, and I would very much like to see them come out. Now, some people have said Impactor. Let's have an official Impactor. Well, there are two official Impactors. There's a TFCC one, and there's the was it Fall of Cybertron one, where they did a repaint of the Fall of Cybertron Bruticus. But and then you got the third party MMC, Spartan. Yeah, I have got him. He's in the other room. I couldn't think of his name. There were another couple of third-party thingies that were coming out. I mean, X2 Toys was doing one, but that got cancelled, and Mech Ideas was doing their presser figure, which I think would have been the best one of the bunch because the alt mode was IDW accurate as well as the robot mode. But because Mech Ideas were affiliated to Mastermind Creations, and Mastermind Creations was bringing out their reformatted figure, I think the Mech Ideas figure got cancelled. But it would have been nice to have seen that come out. But anyway, that's not what I want. What I want, or would very much like to see, as the Masterpiece line is now doing Masterpiece Beast Wars figures, I really, really, really want to see a Masterpiece Beast Wars Silverbolt. And again, this is going to be getting into some of the other questions later on. I really want a Masterpiece Silverbolt figure, you know, about yay big, fully articulated wings that can do the bring it round like a shield, or you can have it like a hold it out like a gun, and all that stuff. You know, do the head sculpt for the dog and a bit of articulation on the dog mode because the deluxe toy hasn't got a lot going on the articulation for the head. But you know, I'd really like to see that. But when it comes to Chug figures, what Chug figure I'd like to see. Now, obviously, Mastermind Creations are very good at doing IDW, Chug scale figures based on the IDW comics, like the DJD figures, for instance. And yeah, it would be nice to see them finish that line. But I would also like them after that to tackle another character set from the IDW, who, if you saw my last haul video, I made a mention, and I will be mentioning in this haul video again, the Scavengers. Now, I do have a couple of figures from the Scavengers, like I've got G1 Crankcase, and I've got G1 Spinister. So there's two of the Scavengers members right there. But and obviously recently we got Generations, Titans Return, Croc, and a Misfire. So there's four of the guys. But there's one figure, there's one character from the Scavengers lineup who, as far as I know, does not have a toy, and that is Fulcrum. And I really want to see somebody do a third-party rendition of Fulcrum. Now, he's quite a tallish, skinny sort of bot, and he turns into a bomb, like a long, thin, like a classic bomb. A long cylinder with a flight on the end. You drop it out of a plane and blow something up below. Yeah, he turns into a bomb. You have to read the comics to find out the reasons why he transforms into a bomb, but it's quite interesting. I really want a toy of him because he's a brilliant character in the IDW, and he hasn't got a toy, or I haven't got a toy of representation of him for my Scavengers lineup. So I really, really, really want Mastermind Creations to do one in the reformatted line. And of course, the other thing with them doing a guy that transforms into a long thin thing, like a skinny bot, being the reformatted line, you could then reconfigure that mold to do Rung. Now, who doesn't want a Rung figure for their Lost Light, shelf? Nobody's done Rung yet, and Rung and Fulcrum, they've basically got very similar body type, and Rung, we don't know exactly what Rung transforms into, but there's that one issue of More Than Meets the Eye where Swerve and all the guys in Swerve's bar are trying to find out what Rung transforms into, and then at the end he just pulls up his Functionist card and it says on it Function Ornament or something like that. So basically he transforms into a Christmas ornament. And also, if you read in the Lost Light, in the Functionist universe, he was transforming into a giant drill tank, but that was a bit phony, that one. So yeah, Rung. Obviously, I think there's a lot of people would like to see a Rung. And another figure I'd like to see, another figure I'd really like to see in plastic form, RID, Robots in Disguise, the show that's recently finished. Warrior Class Kickback. Now, if you've watched the show, especially I think season 2, Kickback is a bright yellow robotic grasshopper that turns into a top fuel dragster. And hell yes, I want something that does that. And there was somebody on YouTube who did a Lego version of it. They did a Lego version, and it just to prove that the engineering works, and it totally works. He did this Lego version of it, and it looks amazing. So yeah, you know, robots in disguise, warrior class Kickback. I'd like to see that. So let's get on. I'm rambling a bit here. Right. That was question number 7. What Transformer figure do you want to see made? Question number 8. What is the first Transformer figure you bought? Now, obviously, when I was a kid back in the mid-80s, I got a handful of transforming figures. Now, my recollection of my formative days, when I was a kid, are very vague and muddy. I can't remember much details. I'm not sure what I would have actually bought for myself back then. I know I got some of the Transformers as like Christmas and birthday gifts. I might have bought some of them with my pocket money, especially like the mini Autobots. But I think the first figure I might have bought for myself might have been the Motorbot, that little orange dump truck thing. I haven't got it with me to hand. It's up in the loft somewhere. But yeah, I think that might have been the first figure I bought with my own money, even though I don't think it was the first transforming toy that I got. But when we're talking about what was the first toy that you bought as an adult, now obviously I started collecting back in May 2014, but if you go back to 2007, I did buy another transforming toy from a NEC Toy Fair. I think it was the September one, and it was this guy. Speaking of Beast Wars Silverbolt, yeah, I'd recently seen the Beast Wars TV show, really liked it, liked Silverbolt as a character, and was at the NEC Toy Fair, and I saw somebody had, you know, Beast Wars Fusel Silverbolt on the shelf, and I bought it. And I've owned this guy for the longest time out of any Transformer in my collection. He's, you know, sitting on my windowsill, and he's one of my favourite bots. So yeah, I would say he was the first. Well, definitely the first Transformer I bought as an adult, not necessarily as an adult collector, because that came later. And then I bought some when I became a Transformer collector. I bought a bunch of Construct Bots, Dinobots. You know, I got Strafe, Slug, and Grimlock. So I bought those guys. But yeah. So, do you prefer official or third-party company Transformers, and who is your favourite third-party company? Now, this question, don't get me wrong, I'm very fortunate in that I have, you know, plenty of disposable income every month that I can afford to go out and buy third-party figures as and when I want. So I'm very, very fortunate in that respect. But I will say, as nice as third-party figures are, and I do have a bunch of them, I have got way more official Transformers in my collection, and if it wasn't for the official Transformers, there would be no third party. So I would have to say, what do I prefer? I would say I prefer officials, because official figures, you can go out to the shops, you can go to the supermarket or go to, you know, Smith's or whatever, and you can buy an official Transformer off the shelf for about 15-20 quid. Third party figure, you've got to go on the computer, go onto a website, buy it, spend probably about 80-90 quid, then you've got to pay for postage and get it shipped from the other side of the world, which can take 8 to 10 days. It might get a customs hit on it, so you have to pay even more for it. So yeah, not as convenient or cheap to buy third party figures, as nice as they are, but official figures, yes, I would prefer, or I do prefer to buy official figures. I buy way more of them than I do third party figures. So yeah, I would say definitely official. But third party companies, which one do I prefer? I'd have to say probably Mastermind Creations is my preferred third party company, even though I do have, when it comes to number of products from a third party company, I've got way more products from Toy World. I do have a bunch of Toy World figures. I think about something like 15 figures from Toy World. Obviously, I have 2 combiners from them, so there's 9. Was it? No, it's not 9. It's 11 figures just in the combiners alone. But yeah, I have got quite a lot of Toy World stuff. But I do prefer Mastermind Creations. They're pretty cool. Now, what are my thoughts on knockoffs? Now, I've watched a few videos and people have been putting their opinions across. Yes, by buying a knockoff figure, you're taking money away from Hasbro and Takara, and it's jeopardizing future official Transformer production. That is a thing. Now, when it comes, there's different levels of KO figures. I mean, you can get those really cheap and nasty things in the pound shops. You can stick them in your hand and you can crush it, and you get loads of jagged shards of sharp plastic with lead paint all over them stuck in your hand. Or you can get the high-end things like M01 from Wei Jiang. That big massive, not M01, is it NE01? Mega Master, the big massive third-party Megatron. You can get that. That's the opposite end of the scale. But then you get those knockoff figures that are carbon copies of the official thing. They've got the identical packaging. The toy looks exactly the same. It's got all the copyright stamps and marks on it, and you can't really tell that it's not a fake. It looks official. Now, I don't like those sort of knockoffs, the ones that deliberately try to deceive and pass themselves off as official toys. Those sort of knockoffs, no, not into those. When it comes to Masterpiece figures, yes, you can get these pretty high quality Masterpiece knockoffs for a fraction of the price, but I would prefer to buy the official. I mean, when I was after a Masterpiece Prowl, I had the opportunity to get the Takasa Tony one, but I passed on it. And it took me a while, but I managed to get hold of an official one from Big Bad Toy Store for about 60 odd quid. So yeah, I would prefer to have the official ones. I mean, MP36. I mean, there's loads of copies, KO copies of the Masterpiece Megatron doing the rounds at the moment. But I went for an official one and paid lots of money for it. That's just me. But on the other side, I have bought KOs as and when the need took me. Sometimes the KOs will step in to do a copy of a toy that is rare and very hard to get, like a Japanese exclusive, and they will do a knockoff of it which is as good as the original, and then you can buy that, and then at least you've got a representation of that toy in your collection without having to pay through the nose for it. In those cases, I think it's justified getting a KO figure. And I've also got like a KO G1 reissue swoop. But I bought that because I knew full well that if I wanted to get an original swoop, one, it would probably be broken because G1 swoop is one of the most brittle figures that they've ever made. And because if you find a complete intact one, you have to pay lots of money for it. So that was the reason why I went for the KO one. And actually, he's right there. So yeah, there is that. So it's a complicated issue. I'm not above buying KOs. I will buy them as and when the need arises. If it's a figure that I like the look of, then I will buy it. So that's what it all boils down to. And then obviously then you get these KOs of third-party figures. I mean, what's that all about? People are doing knockoffs of third parties. That's just pot will eat itself. It's the chicken and the egg and all that. It's weird, but these things happen. And yeah, I think I'm not above buying KOs, but I don't buy them as a direct replacement for official figures as and when I can help it, if that's an answer for you. Right, who is your favourite Transformers character? Beast Wars Silverbolt. Love the guy. There's a reason why I bought this. Reason why I want a Masterpiece version of this. Yeah, so he is my favourite character out of all the fictions. I love Beast Wars Silverbolt, voiced by Scott McNeil. Absolutely brilliant character. Flawed, but he's hilariously funny. When it moved over into Beast Machines, he became sort of Jetstorm, didn't he? And then when they brought him back, he was completely ruined as a character. But in Beast Wars, love the guy, and obviously had that love affair with where is she? I can't see her. She's up there somewhere. I know she is. Well, the dark poison of his heart, Black Arachnia. That whole thing was brilliant. I love that. So yeah, he is my favourite TF character, Beast Wars Silverbolt. And what is your favourite Transformers series? Beast Wars. Best Transformer related cartoon series. End of. No comebacks. It's just the best. I know people go on about Transformers Prime, and as it happens, I'm currently re-watching Transformers Prime. I'm watching a couple of episodes before I go to work in the morning. I'm sort of near the end of season 2, almost getting into season 3. Prime's very good, but it's a bit too dark, I think. It's a bit too dark and serious and a little bit too adult for a kids show. I know that's what adults like about it, but it's a little bit too dark in places. Whereas Beast Wars, it was a mixture of the drama and the humour. They got that mix just right, and then they tied it in with the G1 continuity as well. And I just absolutely love everything they did about it. And the characters that they came up with were amazing. The voice acting was fantastic. I mean, they only had a small, band of characters to work with, but they really did a number on them, and it's a fantastic show. And obviously the CGI art isn't. It was one of the earliest CGI series to come out, because it came out, in the early days of CGI animation. But as the seasons went on, the first season's a bit bland, but then you get onto the second season, it looking a bit better, and then season 3 is looking better again. But still, when you put it up against Prime or any later CGI shows, it looks a bit dated. But you can't knock the writing or the characters or the voice acting on it at all. But yeah, Beast Wars, love it, absolutely love it. Right, question 13. Which do you prefer, Hasbro or Takara, on the regular lines, movie generations, etc.? Now, I think this question is about the current lines that are going around, because obviously you get a toy that comes out, a Generations toy. You get the Hasbro version that gets released in Europe and Americas, and then later on, Takara will do a repaint of it and release it over in Japan as a Japanese exclusive. Now, I've got Takara Windblade as an example here. Comes in a nice box. It's got better paint apps on it, and it comes with that real crazy comic, that Japanese comic, which is a bit risque. But yeah, very, very nice. Costs a little bit more, obviously, and you have to get it shipped from the other side of the world, but they are very good. But which do I prefer? That's a good question. To be honest, I'm quite happy with the Hasbro version. I don't have to go out of my way to get the Takara one. I'm not really bothered. So I would say Hasbro. Well, if you're talking about Transformers toy lines, I mean, I'm just elaborating a little bit on this question. Which is my favourite Transformers toy line? I would have to say Cybertron. And I did that review of Universe Roadbuster, which is a Cybertron mould. And yes, they're not the most articulated things, but the build quality on them is second to none. They are absolutely bulletproof. They're really strong and solid toys. And as I showed, I could transform that thing backwards and forwards in like 5 seconds, and it can take the abuse of being quick switching backwards and forwards from one mode to another. Modern toy, you couldn't do it. The transformation would be too complex, and you'd have ball joints and bits of plastic flying everywhere if you tried to quickly change it from one mode to another. So yeah, Transformers Cybertron is my favourite line, even though I haven't got everything from the line. I've got a number of figures from the line, but not everything. but I do like Transformers Cybertron toy line. I think it's brilliant. Okay, we're nearly done. 35 minutes. Transformers movies. Love them or hate them? Just give me a moment. Right, where were we? Yeah, Transformers, the movies. Now, watching Chris and Nat's video, Nat did a good response to this. And I'm with you, Nat. The Transformers movies, I like to go in and watch them rather than as a not as a Transformers fan, but as a just an average Joe going into the pictures, watching a mindless summer blockbuster full of action and explosions, and that's how I go in to watch the Transformers movies when I go to see them at the pictures. I don't mind them. My favourite. My favourite Transformers movie is Revenge of the Fallen. I know everybody hates that film, but they probably don't hate that film as much as this one, The Last Night. I have got all of the series on DVD, but like I said, I've got The Last Night, but as you can see, it's still sealed. I haven't got it out and watched it, so I've only seen that film once in the pictures, and I've got no desire to actually stick this in my DVD player and watch it. Because, yeah, it's a mess. Age of Extinction wasn't that better, really. I mean, the main reason I went to see Age of Extinction because I wanted to see the Dinobots, and they're only in like 5 minutes at the very end. They are a disappointment. But as Gary Churm said, they did a thing whereby they bought the Transformers toy brand out to the masses. And most people who aren't into the Transformers like we are as collectors like the movies for what they are. They like the movies for how they were portrayed by, Michael Bay. So they served a purpose, and they dragged the Transformer franchise up into a much, much higher place. But as movies, they're a mess. I mean, we all know that this guy was nominated for God knows how many Razzies this year, but it lost out to the Emoji Movie. So yeah, I don't hate them, but I don't love them either. I do like them generally, but I like them as, like I said, I like them as mindless summer blockbusters, but I don't like them as a Transformers fan, if that makes any sense to anybody. So that's my opinion on the Transformers movies. Right, last question. Do you think Hot Rod got Optimus Prime killed in the 1986 Transformers the movie? Well, yeah, he did. Because had he not been there to, interrupt the Prime fight with Megatron, then Megatron wouldn't have been able to grab him, use him as a human shield, pick up, was it Blitzwing's gun, and then shoot the crap out of Optimus. So, yes, Megatron was reaching for this gun, but had Hot Rod not intervened, things might have been different. But then again, I mean, Bisto Yeti, when he did his video, he said it wasn't Hot Rod that killed Optimus Prime, it was Hasbro. And yeah, I mean, how many G1 figures got killed off in the 86 movie because they were sweeping the board of all the old figures and introducing all these new toys that they were going to push in the shops. So that's all it was. It was a massive, great, publicity stunt to do that, and it did exactly what it was supposed to do in that regard. But Hot Rod, was he responsible for Optimus dying in the film? When you just look at the story rather than the reasoning behind it, then I would say yes. I would say yes, he did. Hot Rod isn't I'm not a massive fan of Hot Rod as a character, to be honest, even though I do like the old shattered glass Rodimus Prime. Obviously I've got the Mastermind Creations ones down there. I've got Terra as well. I'm going to get Rodimus Unicronus, because it's all about the goatee. Yeah, I do like him because he just looks amazing, but Hot Rod or Rodimus Prime as a character, not really my cup of tea. But anyway, that's it. I've done my questions. 40 minutes, so good. Well done if you've got this far. obviously you're going to have to see who I'm going to tag for the next video. Yeah, I've got a couple of guys I want to tag. Mr. Zort Rider. Yeah, so Mr. Zort Rider, if you'd like to do a video sometime, I think he's a bit busy with work at the moment, so it might be a while before he gets around to doing one, but he's up for it. So yeah, I want to tag Mr. Zort Rider. And as I was tagged by Hotrodney Prime, because Mr. Hotrodney cites me as one of the influences that he had in becoming a Transformers YouTube reviewer, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to say I'm going to cite one of my influences, major influences in becoming a Transformers YouTube reviewer, and I'm going to say, Graham the Collector 75, I tag you. Yes. Yeah. So Graham, if you'd be so kind as to do one of these videos, I'm sure some of your answers, some of the answers to the questions that you will do, especially the KO question, will be quite interesting, I think. So yeah, Graham, if you could do one of these videos, because you're quite an active YouTuber, I'm sure you'd be okay to sit in front of a camera for about 15-20 minutes and roll off some questions. So yeah, that's me, TFR Wilderness. I know I like to go on a bit. I didn't mean for this video to run out of 40 minutes, but there you go. And what do you think of the new webcam? Is it better? How does it sound? You know, does it look all right? So yeah, that's me, TFR Wilderness. Party on, dudes. I'll see you later. Ta-ra.